there's some highlight, and you're ahead because you'd have read the book already, so I don't feel nervous, you not knowing what is there. But there's some highlight that we want to look at. One, we want to point out that at this time the temple was rebuilt. And there were certain instructions given. Certain things must be put away. And it's pointed out in chapter 56, 9 to 11. Greed must be put away. Now the temple is rebuilt, greed must be put away. Brother Roy, you're with us, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so greed must be put away. The temple is thing here, So it says in verse 9 to 11 of 56, it says, you went to the king with ointment and increase your perfume. You send your messenger far off, and even you send to Sheol. You were worried.
Reading, sir.
Oh, yeah, I went over to 57. Beg your pardon. It says, all your beasts of the field come to devour, and your beasts in the forest. His watchmen are blind, they are ignorant, they are all dumb dogs, they cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Yes, they are greedy dogs, which never have enough. I don't know if you have ever had a dog that always want food.
Yeah.
No matter how much you give them, they still want. But it says they are greedy dogs. But not only that, they never have enough. They are shepherds who cannot understand. They are look to their own way, and everyone for his own gain from his own territory. So there are certain things that Isaiah the prophet was saying, and he called them dumb dogs, greedy dogs, dogs that cannot bark. And he says, come one say, I will bring wine and we will fill ourselves with intoxicating drink. Tomorrow will be as today, and much more abundant. So now that they were restored, there are certain things that they were told to put away. Huh?
Yes, sir.
And one was greed. It's obvious. They were classified, and you're getting the podium today. I have done it already. And preach a sermon on dogs. And that we have some dumb dogs and greedy dogs, selfish dogs. And it's biblical, because we're warned in by Paul that if we snap at each other, criticize each other, after a while we're gonna heat up each other like dogs. Huh?
Yes, sir.
So they were supposed to put away greed. But in verse 12 of 56, you want to look at that? Verse 12 of 56, it says, come, they say, I will bring wine. We just read that. I will bring wine. And it's talking about self-indulgence. They were behaving as if they regulate themselves, they own themselves. So selfishness, self-indulgence must be put away. And he's wrapping up his lesson. Also, idolatry must be put away when you jump in 57, 3 through 10. Idolatry must be put away. He says, but come here, you sons of sorcerers and sorceress.
Yes,
You're
sir.
offering of adulterer and all that, whom you ridicule. Against whom do you make a wide mouth and stick out your tongue? You watch it?
Yes, sir.
The day, you know, I don't know if you ever do that when you were a boy. The girls usually do it a lot of times. Stick out yourself and bay, you know. But he says this is it. Offering a falsehood, inflame yourself with gods under every tree. You remember we're saying that in the Mesopotamian valley, there are more gods than humans.
Done.
Beg your pardon?
Oh, I was trying to catch the word that you said.
Yeah, we're saying that in the Mesopotamian valley, there are more gods at one point than human beings. And here we have the book is saying, here it stands. Idolatry was rampant. Offspring of false wood, inflaming yourself with gods under every tree. Saying the children in the valleys under the cleft of the rock, among smooth stones of the stream, is your portion. They are your lot. Even to them you have poured out a drink offering. You getting me?
Yes, sir.
So stones and all of these things, streams, everything, they were offering, worshiping. You have offered grain offering to these. Should I receive comfort in these things? And we go to verse number 10. Should I? They were giving all of these things to idols, dumb idols. Pick up in verse 8 for me.
Also behind the doors and their posts, you have set up your remembrance, for you have uncovered yourself to those other than me, and have gone up to them. You have enlarged your bed and made a covenant with them. You have loved their bed, where you saw their nudity. You went to the king with ointment and increased your perfumes. You sent your messengers far off and even descended to Sheol. You are wearied in the length of your way, yet you did not say, there is no hope. You have found the life of your hand, therefore you were not grieved. And of whom have you been afraid or feared, that you have lied and not remembered me, now taken it to your heart? Is it not because I have held my peace from of old that you do not fear me? I will declare your righteousness and your works, for they will not profit you. When you cry out, let your collection of idols deliver you. But the wind will carry them all away. A breath will take them. But he who puts his trust in me shall possess the land and shall inherit my holy mountain. And one day, and one shall say, heap it up, prepare the way, take the stumbling block out of the way of my people. For thus says the high and lofty one, who inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place with him who has a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. For I will not contend forever, now will I always be angry. For the spirit would fail before me, and the souls which I have made. For the iniquity of his covetousness, I was angry and struck him. I hid and was angry, and
All
he
right.
went.
Thank you. We could go on, I would love to do it, but it was showing what idolatry does and how God responds to idolatry. God's, feeling, emotion when persons turn to dumb idols instead of worshiping the Creator. And this happens on various platforms in our lives where we put certain things before God, and God is not pleased. God is not pleased. Brother Roy, thank you, Brother Solin. Brother Roy, do you have any question or comment you want to make? All we're talking about now is idolatry, and we want to put that there were so many idols, so many gods around more than the population of the Mesopotamian day then.
No, sir, not at the moment.
They found it during the God, yes?
No, I'm saying not at the moment, sir.
Okay. All right, then we move to the next point. And that would be in chapter, we're jumping a little bit, to chapter 58, 1 through 5, and we want to just slick this in a little. The hypocritical self-righteousness that existed back then.
Yes, sir.
Hypocritical self-righteousness that existed back then. And I'm going to ask Brother Roy, unless the little one is there and you can't read that, you're not as comfortable, then we'll go on. But pick up chapter 58. Chapter 58, 1, not through 5. Do you have that, sir?
Yes, sir, I have it here. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet. Tell my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sins. Yet they seek me daily, and delight to know my ways, as a nation that did righteousness and did not forsake the ordinance of their God. They ask me for ordinances of justice. They take delight in approaching God. Why have you fasted, they say, and you have not seen? Why have we afflicted our souls, and you take no notice? In fact, in the day of your fast, you find pleasure and exploit all your labor. Indeed, you fast for strife and debate, and to strike with the fist of wickedness. You will not fast as you do this day, to make your voice heard on high. Is it a fast that I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head like a bulrush, and to spread out sackcloth and ashes? Will you call this a fast, an acceptable day to the Lord? Is this not the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bond of wickedness, to undo the heaviness every burden, to let the oppressed go free, and that you break every yoke? Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and that you bring to your house the poor who are cast out? When you see the naked, that you covered him, and not hid yourself from your own flesh, then your light shall break forth like the morning, your healing shall spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you. The glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call the Lord, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry, and he will say, Here I am. If you take away the yoke from your midst, the pointing of the finger and speaking wickedness, if you extend your soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then your light shall dawn in the darkness, and your darkness shall be as the noonday. The Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your soul in drought and strengthen your bones. You shall be like a water garden. And
All right.
like,
So there are others we could run on to, but it's just telling you that they were doing all of this, but it was not from the art. And this is what
and
Jesus
it was
Christ
it
says
and
that
it was
you
not
go ahead.
no, and I am saying that, and it was not accepted.
It was not accepted. It was just a show. It's
Well,
just like what happens sometimes in worship, where persons just put on a show. Hmm?
Yes,
They
sir.
say the
yes,
nicest thing, and it's for a show. They give, but it's for a show to say, oh, this. They fast to say that they're more holy. Huh?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And
Sir,
that's the main reason I have my question on public fasting. I really think that fasting should be sacred, as Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6:16 following. It should be between you and your God, and he will bless you in secret. God says, you shall not fast like this. That's it, verse 5. You shall not fast as you do this day to make your voice heard and I. Huh?
Yes,
You
sir.
look at it,
yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
and when you go to Matthew chapter 6 now, it says, I think it's verse 16 somewhere there, it says, and when you fast, this is how you must do it. If you fast from men to perceive or to see, to behold, then you will get your reward from men. But if you fast in silence with you and your God, then God will reward you. And I know
Yes,
that
sir.
the church is going. I think we had a discussion on it once, did we?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And I think you were
Um,
still searching.
yes, sir. Well, I
And
mean,
go ahead, Brother Selin.
okay, sir. Um, the big picture, though, as I understand it, is that God is saying to them that you are not living right in order to be fasting as you do. And I think the lesson here is that to us, we cannot, or we must live right to worship right, because God is saying to them that when you see those that are naked, what did you do? What do you do for them? you know, and several other things that he said to them, which shows that they do not have the right heart, the right attitude in order to be approaching God in worshiping or fasting to Him.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So you must have the right motive.
Yes, sir.
And the manner must be right too.
Yes, sir.
One person says if you do a thing that is right from the wrong motive, it is still wrong.
It's like Simon the sorcerer and his baptism.
All right.
You were saying something, by the way. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I am not jumping the gun, but if when we go to the book of Jeremiah, we in Jeremiah 14 from verse 11 to verse 12, you will see that the same thing was said here when Jesus said to Jeremiah that they should not fast because he will not hear their prayer or things like that.
Yeah, because of attitude.
Yes.
Amen.
All right.
Brother Good, I think we have studied something similar in the book of Amos, when these people were taking bribes, you know, their houses look good and the temple of the Lord was like, you know, so all these things we need to consider. Yeah.
Hey, guy, yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, look, no, because our time is running away from us. I'm just trying to stimulate your mind that you start to search. In chapter 61, 1 through 3, we're going to look at the promised Messiah. Promised Messiah. Chapter 61, 1 through 3. It says, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord is risen up.
That is 60, sir.
Chapter 61, I said, and I'm reading 63. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor, and has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison for those who are bound, to proclaim the acceptable years of the Lord and the day of vengeance of God, to comfort all who mourn and to console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes and the oil of joy for mourning and the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteous, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. So it is there that the Messiah is promised. He's coming and he's going to do great work. He's going to be good. But not only that, he pointed out that the Messiah would actually incorporate the Gentiles.
Yes,
65 and verse 15 somewhere there. And I know we jump in 65, 15.
Same thing in chapter 62.
All right, good.
Chapter 60.
All right. So we're getting there. And Brother Roy, I would love for you to make sure you read through.
Yes, sir.
Then in chapter 65, 17 through 19, and I'm just jumping a little bit. The ultimate triumph of God over evil, or good over evil, God over the devil, would have to wait the new heaven and the new earth. And you'd have heard that one already in 65:17 following, where it says, "For behold, I create a new heaven and a new earth. Farmer shall be remembered, and the farmer shall not be remembered or come to mind. But gladness and rejoice, but be glad and rejoice." This glass seems like it gives me head out of that. Beg your pardon there. And let I get back. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I create. Behold, I create Jerusalem as a rejoicing and her people of joy. And verse 19, I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall no longer be heard in her, nor the voice of crying. And that sounds like Revelation, don't it? Am I right?
Yes,
Revelation 7:17. Let's read Revelation 17.
Seven 17.
Yes, sir.
For the Lamb who is in the midst of the throne will shepherd them and lead them to living fountains of waters. And God will wipe away rather every tear from their eyes.
All right. And it's pointing definitely to the new heaven and the new earth. I know there's controversy on this, whether it's just talking about the coming of the church, but it seems as if it actually jumped even beyond this world and start to deal with the final judgment. It's something you might need to do a little search on. I must say I'm not as conclusive on it. You know, I'm still looking at it. But Isaiah prophecy goes for the then time of Isaiah, for this time, and it goes on for the coming, second coming of Christ. There are messages there. I don't know if you have ever thought of that.
Of what exactly, sir? I did not hear that. I was looking for a passage.
Yes, talking about the fact that he's coming and the new heaven and the new earth.
Oh, yes, sir. You know, I asked Brother Buckland that question just a few days ago because sometimes it sounds like kind of contradictory. You know, Thessalonians and Ephesians. Also in John, I believe, John 14, it is said that we are going to go in heaven to live forever with Christ. But now in the book of Revelation, it is talking about a new earth coming down from heaven where the Lord shall reign. So I was saying, are we going to live in heaven or on earth or on a new earth? So I still need to be pretty clear about it. But the explanation that I've gotten from Brother Buckland is that all these are linked together. First, we will have to go in heaven. Then after a period of time, now a new earth will be made, and this new earth will come down on which we will live forever.
I might not fully share that Because Jesus says, I've gone to prepare a place for you, that where I am, there you will be also.
Yes, sir. That's where I stand too.
So we're not coming back to this earth. It says everything will be burned up.
Well,
Everything shall be dissolved.
What I'm saying is that I don't really fight over the fact that we will be in heaven or we will be on earth. Just what I keep in mind is that wherever Christ will be, there I
That's
shall
where I
be.
want to be.
Yes, sir. So nothing
Yes,
wrong. I don't know.
yes, sir. In chapter 66, it's a chapter that we hardly read, but it carries a whole lot of powerful stuff in it. And I'm going to try to run through as much of the verses that sometimes we don't read. You know, one thing I want to point out, it says, those who sanctify themselves and purify themselves go to the garden after an idol in the midst, eating swine's flesh, that is pigs, and the abomination of the mouse shall be consumed together. So people were eating back then, and it was back then abomination, pig, pork. But not only that, they were eating rats. Huh?
You are eating rats?
Yes, mouse. Look at verse 17. I just pull in thing there. Then it says there are some in verse 3 that he who kills a bull is as if he slay a man, and he who sacrifices a lamb is as if he breaks a dog's neck. He who offer a grain offering, if he offered swine blood.
Yes,
He
sir. Yes,
who
sir.
burned incense. That is verse 3. But over there in verse 17, they talk about the fact that they were eating mouse. You found that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's there.
Right. So an abomination. And there's some other things that I wanted to point out.
Well, I
But
didn't
we'll
focus.
rush to verse 22. For as the heaven and the earth, as the new heaven and the new earth, and that link with Revelation, which I will make shall remain before me, said the Lord, so shall your descendants and your name remain. It shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, all flesh shall come to worship me, worship before me, said the Lord. And they shall go forth and look upon the calves of the men whom have transgressed against me. For their worm, for their worm does not die, and their fire is not quenched. They shall be an abhorrence to all flesh. And Jesus alluded to this in half, that their bones, their worms, their fire shall not die. The abomination, those that have actually disobeyed God.
Yes, sir.
Brother Roy,
Yes, sir.
any question or comments?
It's just that I saw the word Paul in verse 19 of chapter 66. Yeah, so I know that it is talking about secular people.
I didn't get that. It was muffling.
No, sir. I was just saying that I saw the word full in in verse 19 of chapter 66. So I know it's talking about Tegla-Pisa.
Okay, okay. Yeah, man. To Tarshish and Pul and Lud, Trebol, Javan, all the course. All right. What questions or comments? Because this is going to be the last before we have our exam.
Okay, sir. Now what I'm deeply thinking about here, which I did not think about before, talking about it. When we talk about eating mouse here, and later on in the New Testament, the Bible says that it is not what enters the mouth of a man which defiles him, but whatever is coming out from his mouth, like bad words and or any wrong thinking. Also, we have the case of Peter when he saw the vision that God said certain things, and he said that I would not eat these because they are unclean. And God said, why do you call like what I provide for you unclean? And we know part of the world, most likely China, these people are eating some stuff like rats and mostly everything. So how does that verse, relate to that? Is it still wrong today? Is it still an abomination to be eating mouse?
Well, one thing we must bear is what the scripture actually teaches. The scripture says that you must eat whatsoever that is set before you, giving thanks, not asking any question. That's one thing. It says, once it is blessed, it is sanctified by God. Right? So even the text that you're drawing from Peter thing, it says, rise, kill, and eat.
Yes, sir.
So blessing comes, and we have to, this is my side, we have to think that back then, I won't eat rat because of the disease, rabies and all that thing. But we have to remember back then with pork and some other unclean clean thing, pork take a long time to cook. You know that.
Yes,
And and the traveling is one of the nicest meat to me, the fact. But the traveling didn't allow them to be able to cook pork as long as it should. And then there are certain type of bacteria in it, certain type of worm and all of that in it that needs to be eradicated, be killed. Bacteria need to be killed before it is consumed. And then they would not have enough time to go through all of that. But this was a law given by God. Jesus Christ came and says, no, listen, no, it's not what goes down, but what comes out. Right?
Okay, sir. Well, I know that for sure, but the reason why I ask about it, it's like I still doubt that rats and some of the things like cockroaches that Chinese are eating were made for food. I doubt that.
If you take my term, and it is some of those things that cause what we're having now, is ailments that we're having. Anyway, I hope that can be wiped out.
Yes, sir.
All right. So please, just read as much so you can give an overview of the study. I know it's a big, long book, and it's, but I know you are capable to make a presentation. I will try to send the thing to maybe Brother Tito or Brother Bye, so y'all can have it.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes,
And
sir.
then like Brother Roy would have to send it to them so that can be, and this part normally get stir up, can be printed and put in my tray by certain time.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
If there are no other questions, we will stop until Tuesday.
All right, brother.
Okay. All the best now. Be all safe.
Thank you. You too.
You too, sir.